Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasevich.
Welcome everyone to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 319, and if you're watching this week's show, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. This episode, by the way, if you couldn't tell, is being pre-recorded. So we're pre-recording this because we know that we value your time. We want you to spend it with your family, your friends, and whatnot. So hopefully you'll get to maybe watch this after Thanksgiving dinner. With me though is host Sarah Monroe, and so Sarah, it's great having you back for episode 319. How you doing?
Exactly, and happy Thanksgiving. Yes, we want everybody to enjoy their holiday, and we want to enjoy our own holiday too, right? So,
absolutely.
But we will be chatting live. So as this goes up, we will be in the comments section. So if folks are watching live, we can certainly chime in as the broadcast goes up on YouTube and Facebook.
And I think we'll probably put this out, I think at 10 a.m. probably. So again, well, you know what? If you're watching this, you already know it's 10 a.m. because you'll see it on the channel. I guess we could have chatted about that before we started the show. But we've got a great show for you right this week, Sarah.
That's right. It is the most wonderful time of the year. Not just the holidays. It is the e-commerce wonderful time of the year, and also all of the online transactions that we do. So today we're going to talk about what the changes are to e-commerce when it comes to social media, but also a little bit about online giving too, because this is the season, 'tis the season for fundraising. And a lot of the same tools and tricks that e-commerce folks are using can be applied to all of our friends in the nonprofit sector as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, we're going to talk about holiday shopping. We're talking about giving. So where do you want to start, Sarah?
Let's start with the big news. This was news that was teased back in July, and I think we have a little drum roll going for this one, and that is Twitter is rolling out live shopping. It really is happening. They were talking about it over the summer. In fact, we talked about it back in July at episode 303, but it's really happening now. And they're actually going to do their very first test with Walmart on Sunday, November 28th, as we kick off Cyber Week. So, leading up to the end of this week, we have Black Friday, which I think anybody around the world knows about these Black Friday things that happen in North America after the US Thanksgiving. And then we sort of try to focus on small businesses over the weekend. But then when Monday comes around, it's really when all of the online retailers kind of explode with orders. So really, it sort of fell on the tail end. Traditionally, it's fallen on the tail end of the first big shopping weekend of the holiday season. And so Twitter's going to do their first test with one of the biggest retailers in the world. And it's going to be a 30-minute variety show with basically the online personality Jason Derulo, who's a musician and creator and all kinds of, he's everywhere, really. So this is really an expansion of the shopping feature that they started to roll out over the summer for business profiles. So as we're talking about this is only for business profiles, not for personal profiles yet. But they are going to start testing it in professional profiles. So that's a new category of Twitter profile categories. So, Amazon's had it, live shopping, YouTube's had live shopping, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, even TikTok live shopping. And so now Twitter's really jumping into it. And for those social media historians, and even the Twitter blog announcement about this referenced how they tried this back in 2015 to 2017, they tested shopping on Twitter, but they're bringing it back. They're trying some new tricks with it for the live engagement. And actually, Christian, let's chat, because you actually do some of this live shopping with Amazon.
Yes. I do it over on Amazon. Yeah. And so when we talk about the season of holiday shopping, it's very interesting that Twitter's rolling this out. By the way, we're going to have a whole article on this once they actually officially roll it out. Right now, not a whole lot is necessarily known about it, short of like just a couple of screenshots from them about, live broadcasts, shoppable banners, a shop tab, the ability to join a conversation. I don't know, like, Sarah, I guess maybe we'll talk about this in a minute, but like, how do you feel about live shopping or holiday shopping overall? I mean, are you a fan of it?
In some ways, given the fact that I'm such a big YouTube watcher, you would think, I watch some of the YouTube creators live as they go along. Yeah. I can see it certainly for creators who have merchandise, to mention it. There's some beauty bloggers that have actual lines of makeup or nail polish or whatever it is. And so it's very easy to be able to buy something or to be part of that excitement of a live launch that they're doing. So we've seen it happen. I've seen it happen on Amazon and YouTube for sure. So it makes sense for Twitter to try it, since everybody else, except I think for maybe Spotify isn't doing it. LinkedIn isn't quite doing it.
Spotify's not doing it, but I think out of the whole list of social media channels, I think least likely to offer holiday shopping would be probably LinkedIn. And here's the thing, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. I think Spotify, I think at some point they probably will offer some holiday or they'll offer shopping probably at some point from, considering they have a tie-in with artists there, it makes sense.
Yeah. And podcasters, which have merch lines in many cases too.
I gotta say this. I mean, just when I think about holiday shopping, I think about Black Friday, I don't know. How do you feel about this? I mean, so the whole point was like, it was supposed to be this whole thing to like help kick off the most important shopping season of the year. But I don't know. Do you kind of feel like that sort of needs to like go away, like in a way?
I don't know. See, I come from the nonprofit sector. So this is the highest pressure time for nonprofits, right?
Right.
Network for Good and nonprofit tech for good. I'll find the right name of that organization and link it in the description too. Yeah. But they all report that worldwide, 30% of giving by like 1.5 billion people around the world, 30% of those contributions happen in the month of December. Okay. And 12% of giving happens in the last 3 days of the year. So, 1% of the days of the year is when 10 or 12% of the action happens. So, I'm more of a shop local person. I love this time of year of getting out. Even, if I have to mask, my hometown now has mask mandates in place again. I'll still go out and shop local. And then for things that I really can't find, I'll go online for. But I think it's going to be, there's a lot of hoopla right now because it's the holidays. I think the real test will be afterward to see how it's used. How really it's fun, bells and whistles, to do this kind of thing during the big e-commerce heat wave, right? Or tsunami of purchases. But really the test will be after the holidays and how people use it. And I think it will be interesting to engage with creators, with vendors, with retailers, with people who produce these things to see how they use it. I can see small, I know some artists, I know some potters, they can actually do some live demonstrations. It doesn't just have to be the beauty bloggers or the cooking people, right? It can be a lot of creative people who pull their audience into these live events because we're used to them now. right?
Yeah.
We're used to engaging with people much more online, and it's opened up this whole new world of discovery, and to actually interact with people who you know and love and would like to see the behind the scenes, or have more of an exclusive chit chat with them or something. So I think that will be interesting after all of the hoopla of the holidays.
Good points. Very good
How
points.
about you? Is this
So I think I think the part that I'm sort of thinking about is like, why does this have to happen at the end of the year? Like, why
Mhm.
can't this be something that just happens throughout the entire year, where people are constantly supporting other businesses, like that they're not waiting for that discount, for example. You know how like
Mhm.
when you talk about, a lot of people always ask, well, hey, how much should I price my product? And then they offer like, a real like they offer a sale like towards the end of the year. A lot of times there are a lot of people that will literally just wait till the end of the year and buy stuff. And
Mhm.
so, whether it's buying software or whether it's buying physical goods. And so they'll wait
Right.
till the end of the year. And it makes me wonder, well, why can't we change this? And why can't it just be like, you know what? Like everybody go and support your business, all these businesses throughout the year.
Mhm.
And like a business, maybe they shouldn't have to discount all their stuff so much. So I
Right.
don't know. But yeah.
And because we have a global market, when I think about those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, back to school is August, right? August sales on laptops and tablets and
Right.
things like that you buy, um, that you need to buy for school.
Mhm.
The Southern Hemisphere has that happen in, let me do my math right. So to be March, right?
Yeah.
March, April, is that toward the fall season for them? Um, so those discounts, if you can use a VPN and shop or have someone ship from another country to you,
Uh-huh.
year round, you can practically get discounts, the way that the supply chain ship things everywhere, right?
Right.
So really, what does a discount mean anymore? I don't know. Hadn't really
Yeah.
thought about it, but it's a valid point, right?
Yeah. So it's really fascinating. I'm thinking that overall. So what I want to do real quick, I want to just bring up the Twitter shopping module, by the way.
Mhm.
And then so I'll bring this up. We'll let's show people what it looks like, and then let's move on to some other topics. So this is the Twitter shopping module that you should see basically, or you should start to see on a Twitter account. Again, these are just a couple of testing ones. Very interesting. As you can see here, you'll see there are products there in the middle of the page. You're used to seeing these if you go on Google, for example, and you see,
Mhm.
a list of products that you can purchase, or in some cases, images. In this case, it's products. You can click through, and then obviously you have your tweets. I gotta say, it's kind of intriguing to see this at the top. It does mean that maybe there'll be a lot less, or there should be a lot less tweets going out because, you know, people are going to have to scroll down the page a little bit more to see your first, second, third tweets in this
Right.
case.
Right. And your shop is really there front and center,
Yeah.
which I think some retailers will really want. But
Mhm.
it looks like it's going to be a bit of that carousel that we see in shopping recommendations on Facebook, and Instagram. I have to say, I've sort of run down the rabbit hole in that in the last the last few weeks of just watching to see what Amazon thinks I might want. So,
Yeah.
or
Definitely.
other retailers, um, because Facebook's always listening and watching what I'm doing, especially when I'm doing things desktop, and is offering up things like, oh hey, we noticed that you did go to Banana Republic. Not that they knew that I was paying my credit card bill, right?
Right. Right.
But that cookie jumped up, and now I see Banana Republic shopping carousels, so, and
Yeah.
recommendations.
Very interesting. Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
not to be outdone, by the way. So, not to be outdone, Twitter's obviously they're testing this whole Twitter live shopping thing. Hopefully, they're going to roll the basically, it probably means they're going to roll it out very soon. Um,
Right. Well,
YouTube, though,
Sunday will be the big day to see how it
yeah.
works. So,
YouTube. So, not to be outdone, YouTube is rolling out their version of live shopping as well. So,
yeah.
Sarah, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, actually, we're right in the middle of their live shopping week. So YouTube started this on the 15th of November. It's running through the 23rd, I think. So they're working with a handful of creators to focus on this live shopping experience. They've been talking about it since July. Of having YouTube live shopping. And so actually, if you go to youtube.com/shopping, you can view all of this last week's events and what everybody's been up to on the shopping, using the shopping tools on YouTube. And what's really interesting is some of the data in the YouTube blog post that they put out about this, about why they're doing it. YouTube has been really fantastic, I have to say, over this past season about being very transparent about how their algorithm works. They have a lot of VPs and engineers who are part of the creator channel, talking about the behind the scenes and trying to be a little more forthcoming when it comes to the data and how things are working. So what they're saying about the shopping and why they're adding this on is that they're recognizing that there's a bigger role that video has to play in the shopping experience. And they want to give creators this a greater role in the shopping experience too. So it's I really recommend checking out the blog post. We're going to have that linked in our blog post for this show, and also in the show notes. But some of the data that Google's putting out, Google is putting out, is that 89% of the viewers on YouTube say that the creators giving them recommendations, they have a higher level of trust. So they have an 89% higher level of trust when a YouTube creator gives them recommendations for products. So, and I have to say, I'm one of them. I've been wearing this mascara for 2.5 years, I think, maybe 3 years, based on a recommendation by a YouTube creator that I follow. And she's not a beauty vlogger or anything. She just happened to be talking about some of the things that she liked that month. And I thought, well, I'll try it. So, and I like it too.
Very nice. Yeah. So, and in addition to that, by the way, so another thing I want to make sure to mention, YouTube is doing this so that anyone with a mobile device and a product can host a live shopping stream. So they're making it so, I wouldn't call it necessarily accessibility, I guess, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to, again, like help people get closer to the monetization aspect.
Right.
On YouTube.
Right. And less, accessible in so far as you don't need a lot of equipment. You can be a small creator. You can be, just a handful of followers. I don't want to say a handful of followers, but, you don't have to be these big channels and these big, well-known creators to be able to do this and bring this. And what's great about this is that you can expand it. You can think about how can a nonprofit, I work mostly with nonprofits, how can we use YouTube Live, right? We may use YouTube Live anyway for an event or for other things. How can we bring in that shopping piece, especially if we have merchandise to sell, or if we actually you can probably create a quote unquote product as, you can fund, say, a campership, right? For a kid to go to a camp or something like that. And that's the product that people buy as you're talking about it in your live. So really it's a way to engage your audience and give them a very quick access to purchase something.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I mean, I think what a lot of people really need to focus on, like if I'm a business, for example, here, I look at some of these examples, like you see people with like makeup, things like that. I think the first thing people need to think about, like if they want to get into this whole, like if they want to tap into the holiday shopping thing, I think the first tip that I would give everyone would be, you got to start preparing early. So you may have missed that window. So like if, for example, if you don't have the products or you haven't kind of even thought about doing this, maybe what you want to do right now is experiment. Like look at, I would say I'd be in the research phase right now. I'd be researching and looking at what other people are already doing right now, because remember, this is going to be rolled out to a number of I guess you could say they're influencers. Like, it's going to be rolled out to a number of people, and it's not gonna be rolled out to everyone at once. And so you can go and
Right.
learn from some of these people. You can see what they're doing. You can see, like maybe how they're doing it. Heck, look at their setup, for example.
Mhm.
I have a podcast called Launch Your Live where we talk about live streaming setups and equipment and things like that to get you started. And
Mhm.
it's not always expensive mics, expensive cameras. It's, it's geared to help you be more successul
Right.
versus, hey, I went and bought, I went and spent $500 on equipment. You don't need that. Like as long as you got a phone, for example, you
Mhm.
know how to use it within what you're doing, for example, and you have camera presence, things like that. So I
Mhm.
think right now I'd say somebody who wants to tap into the YouTube side, definitely think that it's a good time to go to youtube.com/shopping, right, Sarah?
Right. /shopping. And that will show you all the events that have happened over this last week. And I think the other thing is if you have things that you can sell and you
Uh-huh.
want to test it right now, Google Merchant Center, we talked about this back in episode 302 in July, is that Google has all of these great free tools where you can set up your own little merchant center and sell products online and
Yeah.
see how that goes, right? You don't have to set up a huge embedded shop within your website. You
Right.
don't have to set up a whole separate Shopify account. There
Mhm.
are these little tools that make it really accessible and affordable to do it too.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I love the point you just made, which is you don't have to you don't have to start big.
Mhm.
The biggest problem that a lot of people make is that if they go into thinking, hey, I got to set up this shop, it's already a daunting task. Like you've already lost essentially
Mhm.
because you're already thinking, oh, well, I need to I gotta, it's not cheap to, for example, put together a website with e-commerce capabilities.
Mhm.
And so the thing is though, it's like, okay, what do I instead of thinking that way, start small. Let's get the base built. Like it's like building a house. You put the foundation down. You got to get that foundation. You don't build the house backwards, right? You
Right.
don't say, hey, I'm going to put the framework up without building the foundation. Because if you
Mhm.
put the framework up and the foundation is not sound, then it's going to crumble. It may not crumble immediately, but it may crumble over time. And so the
Right.
focus is making sure that you build the right foundation on the right place. It's why, for
Mhm.
example, like when somebody's building a house, they do property inspections. Like they check the ground, for example, to make sure that hey, if we put a house on this land, is it going to sink? Because hey, it's surrounded by water. Like things like that. They don't just
Right.
slap up a house or put together a house, right?
Right.
So
You have to have a plan,
yeah,
right?
you
You
have
have to
to.
have a point. You have to have a bit of a plan, right? But you can test the concept of selling merchandise with some of these very affordable and easy to use tools.
Absolutely. And, not to be outdone, by the way. So, like, we talked about Twitter, we talked about YouTube, even
Mhm.
Facebook is now getting into this. And
Yep.
this is another great, spot to really start, which
Mhm.
is, the Facebook groups aspect, right, Sarah?
The Facebook groups aspect. And so with this announcement, a lot of the headlines that you're going to see in social media news right now is about Facebook bringing shopping to groups. So there's going to be an opportunity for groups to add products to them. So, which is great. I think about some of the groups that I'm a part of. There are people who write books, who sell classes. So these are things that you can have within that group community. But within this announcement from Facebook is that they are broadening shopping just in general. We're going to see more recommendations for products that our friends and followers have been recommending. So just in general, what's going to happen in probably this next week or two is that we're going to see a lot more products show up in our news feed in addition to showing up in our groups. So there's just going to be shopping, shopping, shopping everywhere. And you're going to see a lot of products. I'm waving my hands wildly because I already see it. I have to say, Facebook has been cranking along at a snail's pace. Sometimes I think there are gerbils running my web browser with Facebook, but I have to say, as soon as this these groups things came out, it's like it's snapped awake, and it's literally over the course of today, it has started running much faster, and I'm seeing a lot more shopping opportunities on Facebook. So I think them rolling out these features has slowed down the platform a little bit, and we're certainly going to see a lot more. So again, what the announcement is saying about this is that there's going to be live shop for creators. We'll see top product recommendations in our news feed. We can have group merchandise. Facebook, when they announced this, they actually made a point of talking about nonprofits too. There's a fun nonprofit called Octonation, which they highlighted in their announcement, which is about octopuses, or octopi, I think. Okay. Uh-huh. And it's kind of fun, but they have merchandise, right? And so they've sort of been the non-profit case study for the shopping within their group, and just seeing more in the news feed. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of recommendations to buy stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I got to say, how do you feel about shopping from a Facebook group? Like here's the great thing. The great thing is it's a low barrier to entry. So if you're in, if you're in I think part of it is going to be getting in the right kind of Facebook group. So if you get in like a Facebook group where some groups are geared just towards shopping, right? Mm-hmm. If you get in the right kind of group where that's what people are offering, I want to sort of say it's sort of like a swap meet in a way, but like you go into a Facebook group and you kind of know, like, you sort of get an idea of like, okay, everybody's going to be peddling something, right?
Right.
Which, again, every single group, like you could be selling, there's all sorts of things you could be selling. You could be selling physical products. You could be selling merch. You could be selling courses, for example, services, all that sort of stuff. But I think it's going to be important to get in the right kind of Facebook group, because a lot of times also the benefit to groups is that people go in there and they go in there to get help a lot of times. And so if you're managing a group, for example, you're going to want to make sure that, maybe you update those Facebook group rules or something, to limit how much promoting of shops are allowed. For example, if it's your group, you could be in there promote, you would want to sort of set precedents there. Like, so for example, don't just start promoting Facebook groups and promoting shopping, like you selling something constantly in your group. You still want to have posts and things like that go out to your members, but then you also want to make sure that, you also you're a good steward, and you're not like, okay, like every post is like a Facebook shopping one.
Right.
Maybe it's like every 10th post might be a shopping reminder. Hey, we have a shop tab, for example, or hey, we add a new product to the group. I think that's going to be super important.
It's going to be either applauded by group administrators, or it's going to be hated by group administrators. So yes, those clear community guidelines I think are really important, and not just in your groups, on your pages too, because as the shopping starts to explode, you may have people commenting. Sometimes I see it on some of the pages that I manage. Sometimes people will pop in with a product and I take it down, right? But what I have backing me up are very clear community guidelines that we don't allow promotion on the pages. So if that's something you want to welcome, you may lose, you may have a mass exodus from your group of people who just don't want to see it, and that's fine. You'll find the right people. You'll find the right people that want to see it, and you will engage. They will let you know. Group members who are very engaged will let you know if they like it or not. So
absolutely, totally, absolutely right about that. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, I got to say that I like the push that a lot of the networks are making. Like you've got TikTok, you got Facebook, you got YouTube, you got Twitter here, you got Instagram. All of them are making that push, partly for the holiday season, obviously. And some of them, and we'll talk more about live shopping like later, on another episode. But I like the direction I think everything's going. Now, if I think let's do this before we move over to the giving portion, Sarah.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick. Okay. Let's just share a couple of tips. So like if you're if you're a business and you want to tap into holiday shopping, what are some tips you think I should, what's like your 2 tips that you think people should do?
Oh, I was going to throw that question back to you, actually, since you
Okay.
actually do live shopping. But I think you need to be very clear about the fact that you are going to have shopping as part of your live stream, that people won't be surprised by it, that
Okay.
we'll talk about you'll be promoting products in it, that you're very forthcoming about whether or not you're sponsored by the manufacturer of that item.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And that you think about how you're going to have fun with it, right? That it's not just
good.
a boring demonstration, right? This is a way to show your personality, to show how you use a product, how it can help people. One of the most, the first thing about social media is to be relevant to your audience, right? So to really think about how that product that you're promoting is relevant to the people that you're talking to.
Okay, very cool. Those are a lot of really good tips there, actually. I'm not going to try to summarize those. But okay, so I like those. I think what I would add would be, if I'm just getting started right now, holiday shopping season is upon us, obviously, and I haven't started any of this yet. I would first use it as an opportunity to learn. I'd always be wanting to learn what other people are doing. I'd want to go follow their accounts. So, for example, identify, and don't identify like the huge companies, like if you're we always give the example of a coffee company. If you're selling coffee, don't go look at Starbucks and say, well, hey, I'm going to do exactly what Starbucks is doing, because they have supply chains, they have things like that to actually do all of that.
Right.
I would say, okay, so first off, start by following a few of, smaller companies, or ones that are like a few levels above you. So go follow them, see what they're doing. See, for example, like how soon did they like start? And here's the thing, I would actually recommend also kind of networking with them and just saying, hey, you know what, can we hey, I want to get into, you don't have to tell them what you do, but like, hey, I want to get into, selling on social media, for example, and get some, and ask them like, hey, how far in advance do you start? Like ask them some of those questions so you can get a better idea of when you might want to start planning some of this. The other thing I think also that I think is super important here is, if you're a business, you sell a lot of like digital products, for example, services, things like that, you may want to consider adding some physical ones. But again, I also would look at it like this. If your business is like coaching or something like that, right? Like one-on-one coaching or training programs, it's great that you can offer, those digital services. You got to remember, if you move into the physical side and selling that, this also means you need to also start to budget for staff to help support that. And what I mean by that is, you're going to need people that are going to, like, if you're going to make all the products yourself, you're going to need to have somebody that does all the shipping, that does all the fulfillment of that.
Right.
Versus if you're trying to do coaching and you're trying to sell products, it's going to, you can't, like, you got to strike a balance there. You can't, you want to make sure you have enough time. Like if your business, if coaching is your like bread and butter, then you want to make sure that you are putting the time into coaching and you're not getting distracted by the other shopping aspect. So that's where I'd say maybe you want to add a handful of good, just a handful of products to start and continue to focus on your coaching. And then if you start to see those products are starting to move, then, okay, I need to start hiring some people maybe to help me, or, hey, I need to, I'm sold out of those products. I need to consider bringing something else in. The data, the information, all the purchases, all that stuff will actually help you, I think. And then the third tip I think I'd share also would be, we talk about this a lot, Sarah. We talk about having hashtags, about having, like if you're going to have, for example, physical products, have a branded hashtag that you use, have, 1 to 2 generic hashtags. And then if you have physical products that people are getting, make sure there's some sort of card included with those products that lets them know what social media channels you're on, and give them some sort of call to action. Like, hey, you know what? We're glad you really like that sweatshirt, for example. We'd love it if you took a picture, use the hashtag social chatter, for example, on social media and hashtag social media, like even give them maybe a tweet or something to share, and tell them, hey, we want to see you with the product or using the product. Send us a picture or something.
Right.
So,
and that can be built into the email receipt that people receive, right? Thanks for your order. Hey, you can get right now, you can share this, that you bought it, and not just that thank you page, like, hey, tweet that you just did this kind of thing, but actually in that next touch, that next piece of communication. And if you are small scale, you can add in the very beginning, you can add that personalization to the order. You can drop a little card in about how you appreciate them supporting your small business and helping you grow. And those little touches people will remember, and they'll stay loyal to you. I think back, there's some people that I've bought products from that have that little touch, and that I still go back to, because I like their products. I like how they do business. I like how they treat their customers. And it all started from that very beginning when they started their business.
Fantastic points. Okay. So Sarah, let's do this. Let's go into we said this episode was about holiday shopping and giving on social media in 2021. So what's next, Sarah?
So what's next is the big thing, is Giving Tuesday. So, we talk about Black Friday. We talk about Small Business Saturday, at least in North America. This is what we're talking about. And now I guess there's Cyber Week, according to YouTube, or is it Twitter? Twitter was talking about Cyber Week. I think that was the first time I really seen that mentioned. So what comes after that is Cyber Monday, and then Giving Tuesday. So this has been a worldwide movement for 10 years or more, I think. This Giving Tuesday movement has started. And Facebook has sort of jumped on it with this epic matching program. And some years have been bigger than others. This year feels a little quieter to me for them, in that they're only working with US-based nonprofits this year, but they are going to do their traditional match. This year it is going to be, let me just make sure I have the number right. It's going to be an $8 million match, and like I said, for US nonprofits only. So what they're going to do is 100% match for the first $2 million, 10% match for the next $6 million of giving through Facebook. Mind you have to do this through Facebook. Has to be on Giving Tuesday, which is, I should know the date. It's November 30th, starting at 8 a.m. And so they're also capping this. So this is something that was an issue with their epic matches in the past, is that the huge multinational nonprofits like the Red Cross or Oxfam, and not that there's anything wrong with them, but what happened is that they had so many supporters and so many time zones that they were able to jump right on at 12:01 a.m. And be able to scoop up all of those matches. So now they are capping it. They've done it for a couple of years, this cap. So it's capped at $100,000 US dollars per nonprofit and $20,000 per donor. So you can't have one donor who just gives several $100,000 and all of that's matched, and then that scoops up all the donations too. So they're trying to make it a little more equitable this year with the Giving Tuesday activities. The other thing that Meta was talking about too, within this announcement, is that with Instagram, to celebrate Instagram's 11th anniversary, they've selected 7 creators who will have host fundraisers, and they will match up to $50,000 each for those creators. So, all told, what this matching thing is all about is to try to leverage other donations, which is what matching is all about, right? So with the Meta Giving Tuesday match, that potentially will leverage $62 million, if I've done my math right, $62 million in charitable giving. And then and then with us, the Instagram creators, about 350K. So, so it's a great opportunity. But what I would say is that don't just focus on Facebook. Giving Tuesday can be about thanking the people who've supported you over the years. And there are plenty of other companies that are matching. In fact, a friend of mine told me that her company, she works in Aerotech, they are doing a huge matching program on Giving Tuesday. So she's actually doing all of her charitable giving for the year on Giving Tuesday because her company has actually increased their match amounts if you make your gift on that day. So I also know and work with a lot of nonprofits that have Giving Tuesday matches too. They've worked with their donors who propose challenge grants, sort of like how public radio, public television has that donor that says, if you give today, I will match it dollar for dollar, or during this time frame, we'll match up to $50,000. So Giving Tuesdays can be a lot of fun, can also be a lot of panic. It's also a lot of noise. So if you haven't planned for Giving Tuesday, you may just want to thank people, just have a nice little post that you're part of the conversation, but know that you're not going to push too hard. But you still have a month to really key into and remind people to give to your nonprofits before the end of the year. So that was a lot about Giving Tuesday.
It was quite a bit. And actually,
can you tell I've worked on Giving Tuesday campaigns for as long as they've been in going.
Oh, good.
So,
and I think you're very close. By the way, you said it was about 10 years ago. It was created in 2012.
Yeah.
So very, very close because we're 2021. So it's very close.
Yep, 9 years. Yeah.
Again, if you want to share something also, by the way, on most social media platforms, you can just use hashtag, hashtag Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday. Usually they have the year Giving Tuesday 2021. And if you're in different countries, like Canada has a specific hashtag for Giving Tuesday too. I have friends who are fundraisers in Canada. And so Canada helps, I think.
Okay, nice.
Also are very active. And so, so know what your market is, where your people are. It is sort of a worldwide giving grassroots effort. It's supposed to be grassroots, but it's really like huge, right? Yeah. So, but it really does kick off the beginning of that holiday giving season. And like I said before, 30% of donations worldwide are made during the month of December. So there is plenty of time for a nonprofit to really hone down your message about how people can have an impact, how they can make a gift, how their gift will matter and help you into the new year with a campaign this month. So it doesn't have to be something that you do for months on end, although there are a lot of us who start planning Giving Tuesday in August when we're planning our end of year appeals anyway. So it's just another touch point in the giving cycle throughout the year.
I gotta say, one thing that I think is important to mention kind of about that is just the fact that, and I think that, isn't it like a tax break typically, I think, Sarah, as well, like if you're doing some sort of donation?
Yeah, for the US, I can't remember what, the tax laws change every year, and pandemic giving has been different. Usually when there's some major event, the giving to that has been more generous in the tax breaks, but really it's connecting with people about the mission. That when we look at what motivates people to give, at the bottom of the list is the tax break. The tax break may determine how much you give, especially if you are a wealthier person, how much you might give in a year. But that is capped. Those tax deductions are now capped. So, folks like Mackenzie Scott, who's giving billions of dollars away each year now, her tax break is pretty low, given the amount that she's giving, but that's not why she gives. She gives because she believes in the causes and she wants to support them and she wants to make change, right? And so that's why most people give. That's the biggest motivator for charitable gifts, is to make a difference. And I would I would encourage nonprofits to really hop on this holiday giving. I think there are a lot that forget about that, the concept of alternative gifts. So instead of giving a thing, to give a donation.
Yeah.
And where we fall down, nonprofits that I've worked with, where I've fallen down in some of my campaigns and forgetting year after year, sometimes I have enough time to send out a card. Like someone will say, I'm making a gift in Christian's name. And I get Christian's mailing address so that I can send a card from the charity saying, hey, Christian, Sue and Joe made a gift in your name and it's going to do this. And isn't this great? And then I have your name and email address on my contact list, right? For future donations. So, but now with the digital pieces, and I have to say, it's been Christmas Eve, right? And I have put together some little thing to print out and wrap up as my gift. That I made, I make a donation in the name of a family member and want to let them know that I did it. So, I'll print something out and put it in an envelope, and that's something that they get to open in the gift exchange. So as a nonprofit, though, you can make that easier for people to just say, hey, you made the gift. Thanks so much. If you need a holiday card, if this was made in someone's name, here's a printable card that you can give over the holidays. Nice. Just make it easy for him. So
and I gotta say, I like the whole idea of like, instead of giving gifts, like instead of actually giving physical gifts, I like the idea of incorporating you're giving to something else to help further that cause, versus like a lot of people just hoarding that amount, hoarding that money, I guess. Again, but I also like the fact that you mentioned giving freely of yourself. Don't just give because, hey, I get a tax break or things like that. I like the fact that, you're mentioning like, hey, you know what, like find something you're interested in, and just do it. Don't worry about like, oh, well, I get this break, so I'm going to do that one instead of something else. Like like help. I mean, because remember, here's the other thing. I think I almost want to say it's sort of like karma, like, partly make sure you give back, but at the same time, like you never know, like when you might need something as well, or you might need some help. And so by, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, or someone in your family or someone that you love needs help as well. So,
or you had a loved one, for example, like not to make this like sad, but say you had a loved one, and you had something happen, like maybe you give, you give back to help support people, whether it's like education or health or like research. I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can give to.
Yeah.
So,
or places that you may have traveled to or visited. There are plenty of places there that have nonprofits or programs that you can support too. I mean, Heifer International has, I don't know if you've ever seen their giving piece is actually a catalog of livestock that you can gift to a community to help them support their agriculture. So it's really, and it tells you that, 2 goats to a family allows them to be able to move out of poverty or make them more food secure. I think in South America, you can buy breeding guinea pigs, because that's something that people eat as food in South America. And you actually feed a family. If a family gets 2 breeding pairs, then they have homegrown protein for so many months out of the year.
Nice. Very cool.
But that's all the messaging that has to go into this, right? Is that's what that impact does. I may be giving $50 to Heifer International, but it's feeding a family for a year. This is how I'm making a difference, saving lives, improving lives, making the world a better place through a gift. So, and if we want to talk about tips, I do want to address a couple of tips.
Sure.
We can talk about it now, or we can talk about it later. But as we're talking about Meta, as we're talking about Facebook, Facebook fundraising, Instagram fundraising, on the other end, you need to be aware of what these tools allow you to do and don't allow you to do, right?
Okay. Sure.
So on the allow side, it's a very quick and easy way for donors to make a gift. That quick donate button's right there in your Instagram story or right there on your Giving Tuesday post on Facebook, whatever it is. Very, very quick and easy for the donor, which you do want this to be very seamless, just like online shopping, right? Make it easy.
Mm-hmm.
But also on the other end, know that tools like Facebook and Instagram, anything really in the Meta umbrella of products, you won't get the personal information of that donor. You'll see a list. You'll see, oh, Christian gave. You may be able to get to your profile on Facebook, and you may be able to message someone, but you won't ever get any kind of email address or mailing address or contact information unless that person gives it to you directly. So, I work with some nonprofits. They have very strict financial guidelines and accounting guidelines, and they require their internal teams require that every donor have an email address at minimum, but usually require a mailing address, so that they can always be contacted for tax purposes, or if any kind of receipt or audit happens down the line. This is usually the larger nonprofits that this is an issue where you need to have that information. So know that if you're going to use the Facebook buttons, the Instagram buttons, you're not going to get that information, and you may not make your finance office happy, which is the number one goal of every nonprofit, is to keep your accounting staff happy. So there is that to think about.
Okay.
And then if that won't work for you, there are plenty of other tools. And if you're in the US, if you're a nonprofit in the US, there's a fantastic tool called Give Lively, which we'll talk about later, which you can set up pretty quickly for that. So, but try to be creative too. There are a lot of people who like to use QR codes. You can use QR codes in printed materials. We're all used to that in North America. The rest of the world has been using them all along. And there's also text to give options too.
Okay, nice.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
So that's giving. That's giving. So
let's do this. Let's go to the lightning round.
Yes, lightning round.
We got a couple of. I think we only have like a handful of topics here that we did want to discuss. By the way, just a quick heads up, by the way, because we value everybody's time. You can go to socialshifts.com/SC319. We're going to have a blog post recap that's going to go out likely over the weekend. So you can catch up on that with all the information we've been talking about here, link to the videos, these topics and whatnot. So Sarah, let's do the quick lightning round. We had a couple of other extra topics.
Yes.
I'm going to turn that over to you.
Sure. So staying on the Instagram thoughts, or Meta, in the Meta universe, the metaverse, Instagram is going to launch live badges. So this is going to be a way to support creators. So Facebook has stars, YouTube has super chat, super thanks, all kinds of super things where you can send a little bit of cash to that creator. So Instagram is going to add badges to live. So if you're doing an Instagram live, you can enable badges so that people can what your users and viewers do is they purchase badges in increments of, this is US dollars, 99 cents, $1.99, $4.99, and then they can distribute those badges to you during lives. So this is for creator accounts or business accounts only. You'll see the way to turn it on in your professional dashboard. If your account is already and is eligible for this monetization, you'll just be able to enable it. If not, it will say apply for monetization. So, this is a nice thing to add to your Instagram live, especially now that you can schedule it, you can notify people. Now there's a way to reward creators, just like all the other platforms are doing. And again, they're launching this for US profiles only. You have to be over the age of 18. You have to have more than 10,000 followers. And again, you have to have that monetization set up, and you also have to agree to follow their policies. So no shocker there. The other Instagram news is that they're shutting down Threads. I personally knew that Threads were around, but never used them. It's actually a standalone messaging app that complements Instagram, just as Facebook Messenger is the same way. So they've had it as a standalone app since 2019. Actually, some of the features of it have been already folded into Instagram, like auto captioning. But really, they're going to send out notices on the 23rd that they're going to shut down Threads. And then sometime in December, it will be shut down completely. Last lightning round news is that Clubhouse is adding live captioning, which is a huge step for their accessibility for Clubhouse rooms, so that folks who are hearing impaired or deaf will be able to experience that Clubhouse live aspect to it. So I think this is the first audio only that I've heard of live captioning. I don't think Twitter Spaces does it, if I'm right. So this will be really interesting.
Kind of
how it comes
preconceived
down.
idea.
And
So as you
so
can see, by the way, we do have an example here of this with it pulled up. By the way, look at this. I mean, it's a tweet, but basically they're showing you how they're doing the captioning right within the actual Clubhouse application, which is kind of neat. So
yeah, it's really neat. I have to say, I have friends who are hearing impaired, and I happened to just sort of watch a little conversation that they were having about podcast. Someone sort of posed the question, what's the deal with podcasts and why do people love them so much? Because they can't hear them, right? And unless you have captioning or you have transcripts, it's not that engaging. And if you're going to sit and read a transcript of a podcast, why don't you just read a blog post or a newspaper or something else, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So.
And how do you? Well, you know what? Let's do this. We're not going to talk about those topics specifically. We're not going to deep dive on them. We're going to put those in the blog post. Again, that's socialchefs.com/SC319. So you can check out all those topics. You can watch that video again if you want to. So Sarah, where do we go next, by the way? What do we have?
Well, I think we've really covered our Q&A, right?
Okay. Yeah.
For the day. We were going to share tips, but we've done that all along as we've talked about the news, our e-commerce tips and our giving tips. So I think we can move right on to the tool of the week. And it has to do with Giving Tuesday. It is a tool called Give Lively, which is something that I have used. It is a free service. Yes, 100% free. And they remind you frequently that this whole tool is free. The only thing that you have to pay for are the credit card processing through Stripe. They have recently also added PayPal as a payment option, but you must have a Stripe account to apply as part of the application process for Give Lively. Now, Give Lively does take about 5 to 10 business days to approve your nonprofit. So this isn't something that you can just snap your fingers and have magically ready for Giving Tuesday, because they do verify the nonprofits. Right now, it's only for US nonprofits. But it's a great way for you to set up campaign pages. You can have peer-to-peer fundraising. Those of you who know what I'm talking about know that these are very expensive tools. I've used other tools that I have loved too, and I have paid thousands of dollars a year to use those tools. Give Lively is giving you all of this for free. Another piece that they do is a text to donate, so that people can text a keyword to a specific number, and what comes back to them is the link to give to your campaign on Give Lively. So what this is doing is it's circumventing all of those old text to give tools that used to go through the wireless carriers that they would take a huge cut of. This actually just texts the link to folks so that they can make a gift. They can make recurring gifts. You can set up your whole giving page how you want it. You can embed it on your website. It's just a fantastic tool. And when you think about, well, how important is text to give anyway? I can tell you, I produced an event this fall for, I think we had close to 300 people as part of the live broadcasts that we were doing. 40, and just about everybody in the audience, I think we had like 280 people who made gifts that night. 40% of them used text to give, even though we were putting the donation link in the chat and had it up on the screen and had it part of the emails that we had sent to all of our attendees. 40% of them still use text to give as a way to give because they were watching on the screen. They had their phone in their hand, that second screen, they could make their gift really easily. And again, it's about making it easy for the donor, right? And this tool like Give Lively collects all of that information that we want from those donors, including their cell phone numbers. So if we wanted to do a text campaign later on, we already have them saved in our Give Lively database. So fantastic tool. I know I got a little bit in the weeds and a little geeked out on nonprofit stuff, but this is a great tool. And if you don't work in nonprofits, but you have a nonprofit that you love, here's some things that you can share with them.
Fantastic. Yeah, this has been a really good episode, I have to say. I mean, we talked a lot about holiday shopping. We talked about Giving Tuesday, like just and even tools to help you with that. I'd even also say to go so far as this. So like you've talked about we talked about how all the social media platforms are really kind of getting into the whole act of the whole trying to tap into live shopping across all of those across their platform for like holiday shopping. The fact that you can give back. I'd also say this: if you're going to be offering any sort of shopping, another way you can be giving back as well over the holidays is to, for example, offer a donation or offer a match on a purchase as well. For example, it could be 10% of an order, or it could be $2 of every order. If you sell like a a $10 or $20 item, it could be $2 of every order you give back, for example. Right. So this has been, yeah, go ahead. You have something to add?
It could even be part of your messaging on Giving Tuesday. You have enough time to build that into your campaign, saying, hey, whoever purchases something on Giving Tuesday, we're going to give $2 to this charity that we believe in.
Fantastic. So, this has been, I got to say, this has been an amazing episode. Just so much information, I guess. I mean, I'm just looking at the time. I mean, it's just, we covered so many topics.
Flew by.
So I just have a couple of just a quick points, I guess, for everyone. And then, Sarah, I know you want to obviously make sure you get to Thanksgiving as well. So a couple of quick notes for everyone. If you want to get in touch with Sarah, you're on LinkedIn, right? At Sarah Monroe VT. Yep. Is that right?
I'm across social media at Sarah Monroe VT. Actually, some social chatter folks have been finding me on Instagram this week. So reach out to me, drop a note, let me know how you found me, especially if you're asking to link up with me on LinkedIn. Let me know that you saw episode 319 of Social Chatter, and I'd be happy to connect.
Fantastic. And I'm Christian Karasevich, and I'm at Social Chefs across all of our social media platforms. Again, if you want to make sure you don't miss any of these episodes, do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on other platforms as well, be sure to go and follow us there. One other reminder, by the way, don't forget, this is a pre-recorded episode, and we will be back next Thursday, right? So we'll be back the following Thursday, every Thursday. Date and time TBD, or sorry, date not TBD, but the time is TBD right now. Right. We're still working on getting a guest booked. Again, pre-recorded episode. And then the last thing I just want to tell you is that you can check out the blog post recap, socialchefs.com/SC319. And again, the next show, December 2nd. With that, I want to wish everybody Thanksgiving. Sarah, I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving as well.
Same to you.
And with that, we'll see you all on the following week. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.